don't know the half.
The last bit of juice I got on this thing.
Hello everyone, welcome back to GTA 4, and yes, I killed Francis instead of Derek. Probably not super surprising given what I was saying at the end of the last video about Francis being a contemptible and kind of irredeemable asshole, but I'm gonna be honest, much like the choice between killing Dwayne and Playboy earlier in the game, I pretty much have never not killed Francis instead of Derek. I just could not bring myself to kill Derek because he is much more of a victim and a not evil person. Like, I don't know, Frankie is just like only really concerned about his own like career ambition and is obviously willing to throw his family under the bus, literally have his own brother killed, but he's too much of a fucking coward to do anything himself. And like considers himself an upstanding citizen and like a protector of good, while he like very plainly like circumvents or obstructs actual justice and allows all sort of criminality just so his own department or himself will not be like found out by others. And yeah, it's kind of, this is where I have sort of mixed feelings about all of the different kill choices in this game that it presents you with. Like the one with Dwayne and Playboy, because I think like that one with this scenario, there's a pretty clear, like, one that they want or expect you to do. The only difference that I can think of, the only thing in this game where they give you a choice where it isn't like that I can remember is at the very end. Because for those of you who don't know, without getting into the specifics of it, at the very end of the game, once you finish up all the normal missions, or at least the main ones, I'm sure you can still have some that are not needed to progress in the game. As soon as you do that, you are offered to do one of two things. One of them being making a deal with someone, and the other being not making a deal with someone. And yeah, so that's that one. Like, there's just it results in two different endings depending on which one you do, and I don't think, I mean, I have an opinion of which one is like worse, but I don't think either of them like undermine the story or Niko as a character particularly, at least not what I remember. But again, I don't remember a whole lot of the specifics about the late part of this game. We're kind of getting into now, after this segment, we're getting into the area of the game that is most fuzzy for me, just because it's been a while since I've played through this game all the way through. So I don't remember as many of the specifics about the plot from that part of the game, but I don't remember it being, you know. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I definitely have like a preferred ending, and it is most likely the one that I'm going to be doing. If I were a true Game Boy Advance, then I would show both of the endings, which is what I was planning on doing in my original LP of this game that I did fucking 6 or 7 years ago, whenever that was. Jesus. I think it was 7 years. Yeah, because I started it a few months before GTA 5 came out, and that came out in September 2013. God damn. I'm only now sort of remembering how long ago 2013 is. Especially in terms of my YouTube life. Like, Jesus Christ. I was originally going to show off both endings to the game in that one. But then the game fucked up for reasons that I think I've talked about before. And then I just finished the rest of the game on stream, and at that point I just wanted to finish the game, so I just did my preferred ending. But I'll talk about the other ending when we get to it, and what I think about the ending and the story as a whole toward the end of the game. I'm kind of trying to reserve a lot of my more, thorough judgment of this game's story until I finish it, specifically because I don't remember everything that happens. But I gotta say, I've been enjoying it. I think, I don't know how it will fare as, I don't know if the whole will be, better, like the sum of its parts, but I mean, I guess we can hope. But I've been enjoying most of the sections of this game in terms of the story, in terms of just being interesting and having all kinds of different characters and whatnot, but whatever. But anyway, got a little bit of a shorty for you today. This is not a super long episode, just because I feel like we need a break from those. And here we are attending Frankie's funeral, and I'm going to be quiet for this.
God put us on earth and not in heaven. The trials of humanity were sometimes too much for him to bear, but he was a committed family man and a man of beliefs. God asks us to show faith, and that is what he did in his way. Francis gave so much of himself and will be sorely missed by us all. Amen.
Amen.
Now, if you will all please join me in the procession to the cemetery.
I'm, sorry for your loss.
I'm not. I'm sorry for Mom. I gave up on my brothers a long time ago. Most I ever expected from them was to put flowers on their coffins.
You have a strange family.
Who doesn't?
I don't know.
Oh my God, get the hell out of the way!
This is it! Niko!
So if I'm not mistaken, it says Albanian hoods, so I'm pretty sure these are Dimitri boys who found out that you would be at this funeral and are attacking you. Excuse me. So that's what this is now. Yeah, a little bit of an intense mission after that nice, strange funeral procession. And I think I did pretty well with this one. I think, all things considered. Because there's a lot of fucking guys, and I didn't really take much damage at all, and yeah. But now here's the really fun part, where you have to drive the hearse with Francis in the back. A little bit morbid. And, of course, this car goes 5 miles an hour. I wanted to say something about the sermon during the funeral service scene, because there are a few different funeral sermons by priests in GTA games, and in fiction in general, and I don't know what it is, but, because, I've been to a few funerals, I've also been to church a billion times, and so I've heard a good number of sermons in my life. And the sermons in a lot of fictional funerals are always really weird. They're very, limp dick. I mean, maybe it's because, especially in games like this, they're usually for, known, hardened, violent, sociopathic criminals like fucking Francis. So it's kind of hard to say a lot of good things about them, but I found that in real life, not that I'm going to the funerals of fucking cops or mob members necessarily, at least not that I know of, it would be very strange and kind of awesome if I found out that, my grandmother was in the mafia, but, they usually will just, not really, or if the person wasn't Christian or whatever, didn't believe in God or whatever, they'll just say, you know, like, because usually with a funeral, the consolation by the priest is, you know, well, he's dead, but they believed in God, so they'll be with God, and blah, 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 and, like, so it's fine. And, but when they don't do that, they just kind of don't really talk about that. They just kind of focus on scripture, and it's more about, like, how we deal with loss.
Thanks, Niko.
So I guess maybe it's just weird because you can't even do that for Francis because, like, everybody except pretty much his mother doesn't fucking care that he's dead. Which is another reason why he is the correct person to kill in this situation, is because, like, imagine doing that to this family, Derek, killing Derek. Over what? Like, just so Frankie can, you know, be commissioner? Like, fuck that shit. Also, Frankie's a cop, so, like, he is, he's more deserving than Derek, to be, knocked off just on that principle alone, I suppose. Pretty cool and fitting that you know, that we're having this part of the game at this time. I like how you can just steal the hearse and take it, but I didn't. I decided to be a nice man and steal this other car from this bald man, who I wasn't trying to run over. I was just trying to back up, but he decided that's where he wanted to run at. But anyway, now that we've gone to a funeral, now it's time to hang out with our pleasant gay friend. Isn't that nice? But yeah, I don't know. I can't really think of any examples off the top of my head, but I just know that, like, the funeral sermons in 4 and 5 are both very strange. Oh yeah, and Jerry is in prison, and we can do more missions for him now. I'm not going to be doing that until probably the next video, or maybe the one after that. I don't know. I have recorded the next 2 videos gameplay, but I haven't cut them together yet, so I don't know exactly where everything is going to fall. But you know, I don't think I should be too critical of the sermons, because I have been to more than one funeral where the priest's sermon was fucking stupid. And I don't even mean stupid in, like, an edgy atheist way or whatever, because I don't really have that perspective when it comes to funerals or, you know, stuff like that. But I just mean, like, it's not a good look for the funeral. The last funeral that I went to, actually, I forget what it was, but, like, I don't remember exactly what the priest said, because I was kind of trying to tune a lot of it out, if I'm being honest. And I feel like it's kind of understandable that you don't really remember a lot of the specifics of a funeral, because it's kind of a memory you try to suppress a lot of the time. But he was, like, joshing around, which I don't think that it's necessarily, like, prohibited to have any levity during a funeral procession or whatever, during a funeral sermon, that is. But I don't know, he was talking about, like, baseball teams and just, like, making weird, he was talking about heaven for, like, 20 minutes. He was talking about, like, the promise of heaven in just a very strange and honestly, like, sacrilegious way. Like, he wasn't really describing heaven or the afterlife or, like, how we're supposed to think of it in the way that Catholics are supposed to think of it. I don't know. I wish that I remembered. My brother probably remembers, because I was sitting next to him and we were trying not to look like assholes fucking giggling at the priest being an insane person. So he'll probably remember the specifics, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But I just remember being like, what the fuck are you doing, man? So I don't know, maybe the sermon's more realistic than I give it credit for.
Found some gray hairs. If he leaves me, I'll kill myself.
Forget about your hair, Florian.
Bernie,
Bernie. What's the problem?
someone is threatening to kill me. Every time I go out jogging and doing aerobics or playing Ultimate Disc, some guy comes up and threatens me. He's loco.
Why is he threatening you?
Because... I think just because I'm fabulous.
What?
I keep thinking I'm being followed, and I don't know why. I'm a prisoner in my own home.
Okay, Bernie, let's go out and have a look.
Ooh, I'm so glad you've come back into my life.
That's cool. But listen, you and I don't know each other.
How can you say that? I thought you were different.
Because we want this guy to attack you. Come on.
I love Bernie. He may be a gay stereotype, although if I'm gonna be honest, like, I know a lot of gay people, and more than one of them acts like a little bit like Bernie. So I don't know. But he may be a stereotype, but he is also just funny in his own way, and a likable character, I think. And Niko, Niko obviously like yells at him a lot and is kind of annoyed with him, but they have a genuine friendship over time. Like, Niko, you'll see in a little bit, because we're gonna do a few more missions for Bernie, that Niko does care about him. And I mean, you know, I think Niko is actually getting some morality points back in this video, because we just killed one of the worst cops in the city, and now we're gonna go beat up a homophobe. Like, that's pretty cool. So yeah, you just have to follow Bernie, and he wants you to be right behind him, but not too close. They don't really tell you exactly where you should be. I always thought that it's supposed to just be like he's in your line of sight, but no, he'll stop if you're like more than 10 feet away from him. I don't really think it matters all that much, if I'm being honest. I mean, you're just following him to a designated spot. So I don't think if you're too close to him, he'll be like, oh my butt. But yeah, this is Middle Park, which is a fun place to hang out in this game. I wish it looked like better. I don't know. I was gonna, at some point in one of the previous videos, I was going to talk about this, and I don't have a whole bunch to say about it, but something about the aesthetic of this game, because something that I've thought for a long time, like since I first played this game, and especially after I played 5, and I've voiced this criticism before, is that this game is very, like, monochromatic sometimes, and in general, like, the layout and look of the world is not very, like, interesting to me, at least in comparison to GTA 5 or San Andreas, where, you know, for one thing, there's a wide variety of different types of landforms and types of locales that you can go to. And in San Andreas and 5, there's also more, like, kinds of places you can go into. And with this one, it's just kind of the regular cityscape, and especially with, you know, you have these things like the park, and, like, I don't know if I said, but I actually really like Alderney. I like the sort of harbor, industrial town sort of feel to it. It really does feel like an industrial, like, New England town, like you would find in Jersey, or, I mean, there's places all over here in Pennsylvania that look like Alderney, where it's there's like a chemical plant, and there's, you know, with the shit that's in Alderney, you've fucking seen it, and we're really just mowing people down on these mopeds. This mission didn't quite go as planned. I didn't know that you had to chase him for this long. I honestly remembered this just being that you could fucking kill him. But instead, I just shoot a random person, and now I have the cops after me, and now things are far more complicated. If you can believe it, I will eventually fall off of this bike, because it's very, very easy to. And this guy apparently has a back made of titanium, because I just shot him like 8 times and nothing happened. And yeah, I just did an amazing flippy shit. That one time that I did a full flip on the motorcycle and landed it, that was a complete fucking fluke. That's never gonna happen again. Especially now with the moped. I mean, the moped, if you thought the motorcycles were shitty... Except I actually think the mopeds are easier to control than the regular motorcycles. Except when they fucking do that every time you go over a little curb, like, what the fuck? I honestly thought that I was gonna fucking lose him. But yeah, you chase him around the park, and you loop back around over to Bernie, and then Bernie comes with you, and then you kill him. I forgot about all that when I was playing this. But anyway, so yeah, I complain a lot about that, about the lack of different types of locales and how everything is just kind of gray and concrete and everything like that. But I was thinking about it while I was playing this game, and specifically while I was in Alderney, which I, just talking about, I was driving through Alderney in this game, and I was like, oh, this is actually like an appealing place in a way, because it looks like a place that I've seen before, and in like a believable way, even though it's kind of fugly. It's fugly in a way that I recognize, and that I think works with the kind of location that it's doing. And that made me just kind of think about and appreciate the aesthetic and design of this game a little bit more, because it is quite monochromatic, and it is quite covered in concrete, and, not much variance in types of places. But that's also how a lot of America is, especially American cities, especially New York City. I've talked in this LP already about how much I hate the fact that the proliferation of cars in the mid-20th century in America has resulted in the entire infrastructure of the country being built around the movement of cars, and so you have just miles and miles of the country, and especially concentrated in even just suburbs of all just, like, roads, highways, just these very, like, ugly concrete things that are usually pretty, like, haphazardly built. Not just in terms of, like, safety, but in terms of how they look. Like, there are so many newer highways here in and around Philly that are just surrounded by... They've just been surrounded by, like, dirt and debris forever, because there's no reason to make them look nice, because it's just the place where people drive their cars to get on the highway, but it just looks like shit. And I think there could actually be, like, a good aesthetic and, like, thematic purpose for mimicking that so well in, like, not just the design of the world, but in the color palette of this game. So maybe one day I'll have some more, like, smart thoughts about that, and I'll expand upon it later, but I just thought it was cool. Anyway, next time, more stuff.